All right, so the Lakers, according to Woj, I know Woj, I always trust Woj, preparing massive offer to UConn's Dan Hurley, who is a regular on our show. My immediate thought as I wake up, do Wordle, watch a few news updates, see my Woj bomb, my initial thought is, I don't think it's a bad idea, but Dan Hurley and LeBron, what does that mean for LeBron? My second thought is Jeannie Buss, who owns the Lakers, and Rob Pelinka, who runs them, they've got to be looking at these playoffs going, the best player in the world is Jokic. He's young. He's out west. The second best player is Luka. He's out west. He's young. And then Ant Edwards and OKC, and we got old LeBron and brittle AD and a bunch of meh. Forget the Celtics. Two best players are in their prime. Go look at the finals. Look at the final four teams. Look at the West. You're looking at Rui and Reeves and brittle AD and LeBron. San Antonio and Houston by next year could be really interesting. The West is packed. All young stars. Lakers don't have one. How do you get one? Well, you draft them and develop them. So LeBron's a free agent. He'll probably opt out. But Woj this morning talking about this even mentioned Bronny James being drafted to the Lakers. So my take is Bronny's been given a bit of a heads up. We'll get into more of that later. But if you're going to hire Dan Hurley, remember, he's like Brad Stevens, who the Celtics hired. He's a slow builder, a culture guy. He's not a microwave guy. That's what LeBron and AD want. They want to be good now. He's a let-it-bake guy. He had a losing record all three jobs first year. Wagner, losing record. Rhode Island, he was 8-20 first year. UConn, he had a losing record. He didn't win a March Madness game until like year 5 at UConn. He is a slow build guy. Hard coach, develops talent, creates a culture. LeBron wants to win now. AD wants to win now. Lakers, they want to win now. This is a team guy. This is not a microwave guy. I think it'd be a great move. You start looking around, this idea that you used to be able to, have 3 stars on a team, but they call it the apron, the second apron, the new CBA. It's very, very hard. You're never going to see Golden State again. Draymond, Clay, Steph, KD. NBA is trying to get away from that. They don't want that anymore. So that's why a lot of these good teams, it's a slow build. You can add a B player. You can add a Porzingis. But it's a slow build. That's what the league wants. Players staying in their city. Draft, develop. So Brad Stevens, year 1 with the Celtics. And again, that's my comp, although obviously UConn's a much better program than Butler. But year 1, Brad Stevens was 25-57. It took him 4 years to win a playoff series in the cruddy East. I mean, so if you want to use that as a comp, are you okay? Are you comfortable as a Laker fan with that? I don't think the Lakers are comfortable. I think it'd be great, but I'm looking right now at that Laker roster. The Lakers' history. I've been watching this. You've been watching this. It's very impatient. New York, L.A., Chicago. These owners don't want to be in 4th place very long. You got NFL teams, red-hot Major League Baseball teams, increasingly popular soccer teams. People are distracted in Los Angeles. Are you ready for slow cooking? Are you ready to put it on the old barbecue pit for about 6 hours, 8 hours? Are Lakers ready for that? I don't think they are. Dan Hurley was on our show after we won a Natty not long ago, and I asked him, what am I to make of all these Dan Hurley to the NBA rumors?
It's certainly flattering, but I've got a long career of turning down jobs or more money to stay in places that that I was happy and that fit me and that provide me the resources to at that level achieve the things you want to achieve. The opportunity to go for a three-peat right now is it's the only thing that is obviously on anyone's mind here.
All right, so then we pivot to this, and I have so many thoughts on why Dan Hurley to the Lakers would be great, but I don't think the Lakers are built for it. I think Hurley's built for it. It's like I say about the WNBA and the media. WNBA, those women are built for it. The media can't figure out how to handle it. I think the Lakers couldn't handle it. I think Hurley'd be fine. J.J. Redick. So what do we make of J.J. Redick? I was just told a week ago he was building a staff. So did he tell the Lakers, no thanks? I mean, let's be honest. J.J. Redick, a podcaster currently with LeBron, becoming LeBron's coach, is like a Saturday Night Live skit. It's weird. Does he break down Laker losses? I mean, how does that thing work? It can't possibly work. The players, it could be a subversive move. You'd have players that like, come on, podcast. So, and they just started that business. And LeBron likes his podcast business. Did J.J. Redick leak the story? Did the Lakers? I mean, honestly, did the agent for somebody leak the story so Lakers maybe leak it so they get a better deal with J.J. Redick? J.J. Redick wants 10. Lakers want to play him 6. So they leaked the Dan Hurley story to get J.J. Redick to settle down and take a lower contract. I mean, there's so many things don't make any sense here. But I've said this for years. Stuff gets out when people want it out. And remember, J.J. Redick was, a week ago, compiling a staff. The Woj story, language matters. They're just targeting Dan Hurley. They've had preliminary contact, not interviews. They've just had preliminary contact with Hurley and the sides, are planning to escalate discussions. That means they called his agent. And his agent called Dan Hurley and said, would Dan Hurley be willing to discuss this? That's what it sounds like to me. I'm reading this thing. This is, my agent calls me and says, hey, they may call you tomorrow. Would you take the call? Yeah, sure. That's what it sounds like. So this got out because somebody wanted it out. Did the Lakers want it out? Because J.J. Redick starts driving up the price. Because J.J. Redick knows the job is his and starts demanding stuff. The Lakers aren't comfortable, so they leak it to bring J.J. Redick's offer to a more realistic place. There is by the way, I want to play a bite. This is Gino Auriemma, who was at an event. He's the UConn women's basketball legendary coach. He was at an event with Dan Hurley last night. This was on the Dan Patrick Show this morning.
I happened to be at a thing with him last night, and I have no idea what's going on. I have no idea where this is going and what's happening. But I said, just leaned over and I said, hey, I think you can win a lot of championships with the Lakers, more so than a guy who's never coached. And he just looked at me and, nodded, and we had a good laugh. And then this morning I wake up and voila. So I don't know what's going on. And it'd be a bad day for UConn for sure if this happens. And it would be a great day for Dan Hurley.
For the record, UConn is stacked again. So you want to bring in Dan Hurley with the Lakers' history of impatience and the revolving door of coaches, it's going to be a price. I don't have a problem with Dan Hurley or J.J. Redick. Hurley's obviously already established as one of America's best basketball minds and coaches. He has proven he's a culture builder. J.J. Redick spent more time around the pro game. But I still contend, if you look at what Hurley does, in NBA circles, Hurley is very respected. This isn't like years ago. Remember the late Jerry Tarkanian got a job? Like guys like Tark or Bobby Knight, the late legendary coaches, they were college coaches. They didn't feel like NBA guys. Billy Donovan at Florida felt like an NBA guy while he coached college and has done well in the NBA. Hurley feels like he could do both. Mike Krzyzewski, coached at the Olympics, feels like he could do both. Mark Few, by the way, very good offensive coach, not a yeller and a screamer. Mark Few's at Gonzaga. He feels like if he wanted to, he could do some NBA stuff. Some guys feel like they fit. Dan Hurley feels like he fits. But for the record, if he stays at UConn, they will be one of the top 2 or 3 teams with a great chance to three-peat. So it's not like he's just leaving a college job. It's like leaving Kansas if you're Bill Self. Like, this is the Northeast college job. In an area of the country that still loves and embraces college basketball, UConn is the gig. So this is not just, let me sleep on it. No, your wife's from Jersey. You have the best college job in a loaded Northeast, passionate part of the country that still loves the sport. But J-Mac, I will say, sometimes I wake up and I'm like, Oh, wow. That's a big story.
It feels like a big story, but I got to ask you a question, Colin. When Woj writes, Pelinka and Jeannie Buss are eager to formally discuss their vision with Hurley.
Lakers are preparing a massive offer to UConn's Dan Hurley, best college basketball coach arguably in the sport. Very clever offensively, a slow-cooked coach. Coach, culture, development, that's what he does. That's what the NBA is becoming now. So there's a term used in business, and my best bosses ever have been good at this, called seeing around corners. Can you see problems 3 or 4 or 5 years down the road before they happen? So when it comes to Hurley and the Lakers, 2 things to remember. There was not an NFL team in Los Angeles for over 20 years, and during that time, the Lakers won titles. The Dodgers were big, but weren't winning World Series titles where the Lakers were. It's a Laker town. It's one of the only cities in America, big ones, that's an NBA town first, second, and third. And they're used to it. The Buss family is used to dominating the media, being the cool team in town. Second thing is that has created something within the Lakers that they're not comfortable not being in the news. They will not stand being the 4th and 5th story. So now from that, I want you to think about what is very possible very quickly in Los Angeles if you hired Dan Hurley and started mostly a rebuild. Jim Harbaugh and Sean McVay are 2 of the top 4 to 5 coaches in the sport, and both have star quarterbacks. The NFL eats every other sport in its way alive, even in Los Angeles over time. They've got the coolest stadium in the league, Super Bowls here, Jim Harbaugh, Herbert, Stafford McVay, and Stan Kroenke, the second richest owner in the sport. They'll buy stars. Again, the NFL is more beloved, even in Los Angeles, than the NBA over time. Oh, what about the Dodgers? Mookie Betts, Freddie Freeman. No salary cap. They are the Yankees of 10 years ago. Ohtani now is stealing the thunder in the city, and he's not even pitching yet. He's just DHing. What if the Dodgers start repeatedly getting into the World Series? Winning occasionally, but getting to them. Oh, and then there's Steve Ballmer, Clippers owner, much richer than the Buss family, building a new arena. It'll be the Sphere for basketball just down the road from the Staples. He drafts or recruits a star or 2. Kawhi eventually leaves. A more magnetic, dynamic star runs the organization with Ty Lue. Oh, and then there's USC entering the Big Ten, where they'll now have home games regularly with Ohio State, Michigan, Penn State, Wisconsin. Not to mention 2 West Coast powers, Oregon and Washington. The Coliseum should be buzzing for years to come. You think the Lakers are going to be okay being 38-44 in year 2 of the rebuild with Dan Hurley? In Storrs, Connecticut, I lived there for a decade. People be more patient. They root for snow. This is Los Angeles. It's not Cincinnati. There's a lot to do. Beaches, mountains, Vegas a quick flight away. This city has been nothing but successful in sports since I arrived 8 years ago. And we're just moving into the prime years. Ohtani now a Dodger. Harbaugh and Herbert for the next 5. Steve Ballmer finally getting his arena and eventually out of that ugly Kawhi contract. We're just starting now. USC games, no longer Washington State and Oregon State. It's Ohio State, Penn State, Michigan. This city's about to explode with sports. And you want to rebuild? I'm not buying it. If I was Dan Hurley, my wife's a Jersey girl, best college program, I'd ask for $12 million a year. I mean, my wife moving out of Jersey, that's worth $3 million. The job itself is worth $4.5 million. Connecticut to LA house prices, that's another $3 million annually. Do the Lakers have the stomach to finally pay massive money for a coach and rebuild at the same time? 2 levels of discomfort for this organization. But just know we are on the precipice of this city exploding. Ohtani pitching and hitting. Dodgers stacked. Now you don't have those regional TV networks, so the middle and the bottom of Major League Baseball now, it's like AAA baseball. It's not even, in some areas, competitive. The minute somebody like a Pirates pitcher is good, he'll be on another team very quickly. So just, are you ready for that? You're ready for the slow cook, the slow build as the rest of the city is exploding in sports? I don't think they are.